Students, they are being terrorized by MAGA. Put it up full mass. Hell of a story. California, students at Beverly Hills High say that they have been targets of MAGA. Racism, including in the lead up and the day of the presidential election. One teacher said a mob in Trump gear carrying a Trump flag interrupted her class on election day. This is according to Fox 11 News, Los Angeles. You have the screenshot there. High school teacher Bella Ivory recalled what she said was a scary moment at school the week of the 2024 election, when a parade of students supporting President-elect Donald Trump marched down the hallway in front of her classroom. Quote, "It was just a mob of kids," Ivory said. "So many kids outside my door. One of them had a Trump flag on a pole. Some of them had on MAGA hats. Some just had Trump apparel," Ivory said. Someone in the group tried to open her classroom door, upsetting some of her students. Now, why are they doing this? This sounds like criminal behavior. Sounds like thugs, gangsters, right? But they're not contextualized in such a way. They're just Trump supporters. They're just enthusiastic about government. They're just supporting the presidential candidate. You see, the contextualization is different for them, even though they're violating every rule in the rule book for behavior inside of a school system and engaged in bigotry, racism, harassment, bullying, aggression, and violence, according to the narratives. I had a recent school board meeting. Students like Journey, a senior, said that while she's dealt with a lot of racism during her time at school, quote, "It became utterly impossible to ignore," end quote, the week of the election. Wow, isn't that something? So the closer they got to the election, the more Trump supporters became racist. Quote, "From 8:30 to 2:30, all week, being in school felt like a nightmare," she said. Quote, "What the Black students and Miss Bella had to deal with that week had nothing to do with politics. That week, being stormed, being called the N-word, being shunned, all because you were Black became the normal." Another student, Alexander told the board that he recently, quote, "seen slurs scrawled across the walls of our bathrooms, hateful rhetoric being spoken across the hall, and violent behavior toward Miss Bella and our club." Ivory also spoke at the meeting herself. After the meeting, she told Fox 11 about what she saw that week. Quote, "They look so frightened," she said of her students. Quote, "I said, I'm not going to open the door." One of my students said, "They look like the KKK." Naturally, when something like this happens, obviously, the school system has exacting protocols to deal with this kind of disruption, this kind of intimidation, this kind of bullying, and call it for what it is. They are acting lawless because their leader is lawless. They are behaving out of bounds because their leader is out of bounds. They have no respect for civility because their leader has no respect for civility. It's not difficult to contextualize. So the Beverly Hills Unified School District said in a statement to Fox that, quote, "We remain deeply committed to upholding a secure and conscientious setting where students can responsibly and considerately engage in the democratic process." But district officials said they're also investigating the claims and the situation using all resources available, including an audio recording from the cell phone of a student in Ivory's classroom that was posted on social media. In the post, Ivory can be heard saying, "If anything happens to me at this school, my family will come for your families. If anything happens to my son, I will come for your families." Ivory said she wasn't making threats, but sharing her feelings in the conversation with students. She claims the audio was edited and says her message was essentially saying, "My family is going to come after any family that hurts me, kills me, whatever legally, not physically." Okay. And so what they're doing, they're saying, yeah. We're going to investigate all the kids, in Trump gear, terrorizing the school. We're also going to investigate the recording of the teacher saying this comment. They're pivoting, okay? And they're trying to put fear into her so that she stops telling the truth. I'm from Glenwood Road, I see gang. So they would prefer to make it seem as if she somehow committed the egregious offense and ignore that you had a mob. No. Let's go ahead and call it what it is, a gang. That's what you would call it if it was a bunch of black students doing it. It was a gang wearing their gang colors, red hats, etc., terrorizing the school and terrorizing teachers and students, right? So Ivory hasn't been in class and says she plans to go back to work, but would not specify when. School officials said the demonstrations like the one during election week would not be allowed in the future, should not have been allowed then, as long as they cause disruption. So the principal, Drew Stewart, and the superintendent is Dr. Michael Breggy. All right, buck stops with them. Gentlemen, we're on top of it now. We do expect there to be an exacting ramification for what has happened, and also protocols moving forward that are visible, that are easily discernible, not vague. And if not, we'll be back right here again having this conversation. Buck stops with you two gentlemen. All right, Jackson, thoughts?
Yeah, well, you really nailed it out in terms of why people are emboldened, the things that Donald Trump's able to do, and seemingly nothing matters. And I think, above anything else, what really gets under my skin about Donald Trump being elected again is that he should be in prison. That is where he should be. This man just got away with what, 86, 91 felonies. He's about to pardon himself. I'm seeing these reports of Jack Smith just throwing the cases out because he knows they're not going to go anywhere. An adjudicated rapist, a man who spent his entire career doing nothing but ripping people off and conning people. And then he got hired by Hollywood to cosplay as a businessman. And that's largely why he's in the position that he's in. This dude tried to overthrow the country and he gets to be president again. Like what matters if that's the case? Why shouldn't these people feel emboldened? And like you said, they're dear leaders doing whatever he wants, staffing his cabinet full of the most ridiculous people that we've ever seen. Matt Gaetz, who, well, he didn't get it, but still, the fact that he even tried.
Right.
You're right. Pete Hegseth, what's her name? McMahon for the Department of Education, because she gave him $20 million. She bought that position.
Right.
Drain the swamp my behind. And you got so again, passing it on, as we talked about in the last segment, a lot of these people who were alive during the civil rights era were very, very upset about it. And they didn't pass this stuff on to their children and to their grandchildren. They're eating people's cats and dogs. They're eating people's pets. No, Donald Trump's not a racist. This isn't racism. Like, what are you talking about? Of course it's racism. So, it's just, I think out of everything that really makes me mad every day that I look at this, and it's like, he should be in prison. This dude should be in prison, and he gets to be the president twice.
Right.
Nah, man, we ain't moved past much of nothing. Yeah, maybe we can, black people, brown people can get hired and get jobs and stuff like that. But when it comes to the powers and the pillars of this country, we ain't moved past nothing, such that this clown can be president again. And I just that genuinely makes me very, very angry. And I don't care who doesn't like it.
Yeah, I mean, for a lot of us, man, the reality of it is starting to set in. Now, the reality of Trump, as much as it is the reality of the people that elected him, the reality of the people that decided to put him back in power with even more vigor than they did the first time. And so that collective frustration, dear brother, is definitely understood.